Welcome to another workshop Wednesday, all about casual conversations for serious workflows because we certainly don't take take things too seriously around here. Uh, but it's brought by schoolbookkeeping.com where you can keep learning QuickBooks your way.
I am doing good. I feel like maybe there's like some potential hangover from turkey and stuffing happening.
That's the tryptophan version of Wednesday. We
I
need
am
that
doing good though. How are you? How was your
after
holiday?
turkey coma. It was very good. It was very good,
Good.
despite the fact that I was in Pennsylvania and it was cold. But
Well, now you're
glad
back
to be
in
back
Florida.
in the. Yep,
You're probably
it
a
was such
little
a
warmer
warm.
than we are. We're sunny and 70 right now, which is kind of perfect. This is also
Okay,
the time of year that everyone comes to Florida and they're like, yes, I would like to move here. I love this weather. So, for everyone watching and now and in the future, it's only like this for a week or two and never consistently.
hmm. It's not as boring as Hawaii, where it's 83 and possible chance of showers on the north side of the island.
Yeah, I think they have better food out there too, probably.
Yeah, yeah, and ice. Their ice is amazing. Alrighty, so we're going to be continuing our the never-ending story of job costing with
Right, we
Shauna.
always have more to learn.
But today is exciting because we're going to be talking about money coming in. Like we've been talking at this point about money going out and categorizing time and materials and expenses to make sure that you're, getting, the job and project profitability is uh, happening. But now we need the other side of the equation of the revenue side of things, and we're talking about those things with Shauna. So this is what people into this business for, is to not just um, you know use their crafts, their trade to make and build things. They actually want to get paid for it, right? You mean they do it for free?
It's not out of the kindness of your heart.
Right. So this is the fifth in the series, and so we're going to be billing and revenue recognition during this workshop. So let's first talk about some new terms that are specific to this type of industry, Shauna. Um, we're going to be talking about some things about like work in progress, retainage. So let's kind of lay the groundwork of some of the unique terms that revenue coming in for this type of industry that would be important. So let's start with what in the world is retainage?
So, depending on how our clients have their contracts written, some of them will collect a deposit up front before estimating takes place, or a retainage fee. And that retainage fee essentially allows them to go through the estimating process, and then it is for kind of like it sounds, right? It retains the contractor for the business till that start date occurs, which has to obviously be agreed upon by both parties from a scheduling standpoint. But essentially, it is a money collected prior to the start of a project to retain the contract and the work to occur.
And is there usually like a best practice, like a percentage that is typically across the board, or does it I hate to say it depends because I'm sure that's the
Oh, it
answer.
always depends. And it always depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the scope of work that you're going to be performing. Obviously, if you're just having a bathroom remodel done versus a large new custom home, the retainage fees should be different because those retainage fees also should, as a contractor owner, cover some of the initial expenses that go into acquiring that new client. It really does depend.
And how does retainage differ from like an upfront deposit or retainer?
So a job deposit typically upon, let me start, I guess, from square one. Retainage is collected, right? And then the work and the estimating is performed. That retainage fee, as I mentioned, should technically, from a contractor standpoint, cover the cost to obtain that client. So labor gone into estimating, obviously, there's expenses involved because you probably have to print out some blueprints, or they're working with a interior decorator or an engineer, depending on the scope and everything of the project. So those are expenses that start being job costed pretty much immediately upon that estimating process occurring. Once that estimate is then provided to the prospect, they will pay a retainage fee that should cover essentially that portion. So you're not just acquiring a bunch of expenses. That retainage fee sits over on our balance sheet. And then eventually, once that work is complete, it moves over into earned revenue. Deposits are just different, and that should be based off of a certain percentage of which your contract with that client is going to be. So I've got clients that do, depending on, again, the scope of work that you're performing, I think the average, I want to say, is around that 20-25% upfront deposit. And then I have clients that handle it very differently. I have clients that will take that deposit and apply it down till a 10% of the project amount is what's remaining as a deposit on that balance sheet side until the final work starts occurring. And then it is applied then to those final invoices, or they hold it the entire time and they invoice the client. Their clients are getting invoiced, they're paying that out. And then once they reach essentially that sort of, which we'll talk about as well, like the progress invoicing, they'll wait till around that 75% mark of completion of work to start then applying the deposit money to those final invoices.
Got it. Okay. And then as far as the accountant or the accounting of retainers or deposits, that essentially they're liabilities, not necessarily revenue at that point.
It's
So
unearned revenue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it would sit on my best practice that I do with the majority of our clients is that I create a general retainage account, liability account, and a general job deposit account. And then each project that we collect on, that is a sub account to it. That way, it also makes it kind of easier when we are reconciling our balance sheet. We do reconcile those accounts as well against the job reports that we have that also keep track of that information. So if we're taking that percentage and we're applying it, a part of that deposit to the invoice, we're recording it in our QuickBooks as a some of our clients, we actually, because we're a profit first firm, we actually have a separate profit first deposit hold account. So there is an actual money movement that occurs, unlike some contractors where it just kind of has everything's gone into one account. I think best practice would also be, because of the profit first, we keep it separated. And then that makes it easier, again, for the reconciliation process. But it also keeps the owner from potentially maybe dipping into the funds that aren't really yet to be spent.
Protecting them from them.
Yes. To the best that we can. Obviously, we can't tell them
Right.
no because it's their accounts and stuff, but there's a reason to keep it separated. Well, multiple reasons to keep it separated, but that's one.
Right.
It's the
Now,
hand slap that you give your client if they touch it too soon.
That's right. Come with your own ruler, like the. Now, is there a prescribed workflow that you inside of QuickBooks when it comes to retainage, retainers, and deposits? Because QuickBooks Online has this new way to request deposits on estimates, and then sends the customer, get the whole estimate and approve, and then they can pay for through QuickBooks Payments their deposit, and then QuickBooks then manages the liability. But is that too restrictive for you clients, or do you prefer to have like a separate line item or a separate transaction when it comes to collecting these retainage, or deposit fees?
So if you send it off as an it depends. If you are sending it out as an estimate, and then once they approve it, your response is then to collect a percentage of deposit, QuickBooks automatically recognizes that as earned revenue. So unless you specifically make sure that you have things pointed properly. So I guess my point is that if you're doing a progress invoice to collect a deposit, it takes, because those line items are linked to earned revenue, not a deposit account, it will automatically book it as earned revenue. And then you're having to journalize it to say, no, that was just a deposit, which in our case, because we keep things as sub-accounts anyways, we're still having to record the journal entry to move it from the main deposit account to the proper project sub-account. I guess it's one half dozen the other, but we prefer, because a lot of our clients are doing T&M, we prefer that the estimate stays separate. And that they approve this estimate, and then we are just sending a deposit invoice. And then you could still attach it as a PDF backup item, so they can still refer to it. And you can lay it out, even if you wanted to say like we're take that, convert it to an invoice, and then technically, I guess you could discount it for that full amount, and then add a line item, because I think you could still modify an estimate that you're using the invoice off of. You can add another line on there. But I think the easiest way for our clients has been to keep those two things sort of separate, because we're doing T&M and not technically that fixed fee or progress invoicing. But then also, like I said, because then we're having to still journalize to move it from earned revenue over to deposit, because of how you're generating that invoice and how things are linked in the background.
Got it. So how do you determine? Yeah, how do you determine whether you do fixed fee or time and materials with your clients?
Our clients tell us what they do, and then we advise them on if, obviously, after some time of working together, we're able to kind of provide them with some feedback on whether that is the most profitable way for them to do business, or if it is technically costing them more money. I think I mentioned this before, but we have a client who is doing mostly all custom home builds, and we suggested, or I had suggested to him, that for him to be able to afford to have any more inventory lots, that work in progress lots that are owned by him, that he is either remodeling or building himself, so it's all investment, all asset driven, that he basically convert some of his future projects of looking forward to remodels instead of custom homes, because I believe in his market, he could get at least 7% more in his remodel work on a T&M remodel than he can on a T&M custom home build. The market is just stronger for remodels where he is right now. So there's more profit there, which obviously then that profit he can convert into the investment of future lots.
Makes sense. Now, we all, I think in any industry, we have this concept of scope creep, where, you have your initial project or your initial estimation, and then surprise, there's new things that come into the mix, whether it's, oh, we started to build this on a sinkhole, or
that's just because you're here in Florida, isn't it?
On the property that we now need. How do you deal with surprises and change orders and scope creep in this type of industry?
This is going to be a reoccurring theme. I should write something about how it always varies. It will vary, again, because your clients are going to do something different. The market's going to require them to do something different based off of where they are, the type of work that they're doing. So the change orders is like, I think this is probably why T&M has grown into, because it was the way of doing business, and then it stopped and it went to everything must be fixed fee, which was pushed really hard in our industry as well as an accounting professional. And then they were like, wait a minute, in the construction world anyways, like we should actually start switching back to T&M because things have just fluctuated so much cost-wise. So especially when you're doing a custom home build, if you sign that contract a year ago and the plans are now final, you're just getting started, everything is costing more a year later, right? Or it's gone down significantly. So in one facet or another, somehow someone is being impacted positively or negatively from those changes. So time and material has kind of crept back up into being pretty popular because you can always guarantee profit and consistency within that profit by doing T&M plus your markup. And I think that's why a lot of people do it too, because change orders aren't technically change orders when you're doing a T&M project. Do your clients try to track that? Do we try to track it? For sure, we're trying our hardest to take changes that are expenses that were not a part of the original scope and putting them in there as a change order so it stands out to when we're billing. Like, this is that extra thing that you asked for. But as most contractors know, a lot of times their clients are sort of texting or showing up on job sites and being like, hey, I need you to do this. Or, hey, I think instead of doing this roof, I'd like to change it to this. So it just becomes a little sort of hard to track sometimes, and sometimes it's a little convoluted, especially with labor and material when we've got someone that's like, because it's kind of fresh in my face right now. We have a client who, their client went from wanting a very specific outdoor kitchen cabinet to something extremely different, but we had already gone through with the utility runs. And now we have to completely change all those utility runs based off of the new build and material that he's having installed for the cabinets. So there was obviously the original change order was the utility runs for that new kitchen that he ordered last minute. And then there was another change order that's also utility runs, because now we have to change the piping for the gas, or we have to move things into different areas for water. So the change order, I think that that's just like a constant thorn in like everyone's side. Everyone who knows what I'm talking about is like, but as
nodding.
homeowners, we're those ones making those changes. So,
Right. So you mentioned this a little bit earlier about progress invoicing. So let's talk a little bit about progress and billing the in stages. Is does that change when you're using time and material plus markup, or is it solely for fixed fee types of work?
progress invoicing would be specifically based off of that estimate. You're creating invoices based off of completion of certain percentages, right? So some and it's referred to as different things. So there's progress invoicing, there's draws, but either way, the details of it are that you reached like the foundation is done, and so now we're going to send out your invoice and it's based off of the foundation being complete. Now our next stage is plumbing and framing. Those stages now are complete, and so now we're doing the deposit side, and then we're sending you a final. So in time and material, a build is the way. They don't change how they build a house because you invoice differently, right? The process is
What?
the same. So technically, you're still getting stage completion billing when we're sending you an invoice. It is just based off of true expenses that we or your clients have paid for, plus the markup is how we do it. I have clients though that do it every 2 weeks. I have clients that we invoice every week. So based off of payroll and material and subcontractor bills received, we generate invoices on a weekly basis because they want to pay their vendors on a weekly basis. So obviously, they don't want to bankroll the jobs that they're doing. So if you're going to have a weekly commitment to your vendors to pay, you should have a weekly commitment from your clients to get paid.
And is that part of the whole engagement process up front, that they will understand how things are going to be invoiced, or are they just going to be surprised every week or every 2 weeks with an invoice?
I mean, if your wife orders a change in the job and the husband's the one getting the invoice, it might be a surprise to him. But the contract should be written for your client's contracts. As a contractor or subcontractor should always be. I think that's the one place I would never advise your clients to go cheap on. Definitely worth the investment because it's put there to protect you or to protect your clients. So having the contract drawn up, having it be as detailed as possible. But again, you can only make their clients will only. Do you read all your contracts? I know my husband is very thorough in everything he signs.
Right.
So I know he's reading every word in that contract, but I don't know if the majority of us read every line. So, I would put it back on the client. You signed this contract, right? This is kind of like you committed to this, and this is how we're moving through. But that information should always be relayed in the contract itself, and maybe even summarized. It probably is summarized in that conversation between whoever the estimator is or owner and their client.
Got it. So as far as like expenses and the markup and visibility on those, what is your best practice when it comes to that? Do you show that on the invoices so that they are aware of all of those different factors?
The cost on our invoices, so it varies, Dan. We do have
I
clients
should have known.
we have clients that do show the margin, or that markup on there is being visibly displayed on the invoices, and in QuickBooks you can set it to either hide it or show it. And then I have clients that don't show it, but we attach every single bill and from material and subcontractor, everything's attached to it. So, oh, Dan. I'm just happy it's not me this time.
Yeah. All right, let me move me over here. I rudely interrupted you by leaving. Sorry.
That was a quick comeback, though. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I don't even, what was I talking about? I have some turkey lingering too.
As far as like the visibility of your costs and time and materials, what we were chatting before I decided to leave for a second.
We have clients that display that markup, and then we have clients that don't display the markup, but they're attaching the bills. So you could see that there's obviously a difference, and they could probably easily calculate it. But that's also something that should be written in the contract, what the standard markup is. If there's an additional expense listed on there, like we've got some clients that do a contractor coordinator fee on each thing, that essentially is meant to cover administrative time being spent on the creation of the invoices, the management, the client relationship assistance, all that kind of stuff. Like client as in we're maintaining and working with our clients' clients when needed. That roll down. I think it depends, but you should, hopefully the clients are being upfront and honest about it with their clients. And like I said, I think when you're doing a T&M, you do have to provide that proof of things that are occurring. And so I don't have any client that is not upfront about it, whether it's in their contract and or also on their invoices. Or in the case of the clients that we have that don't show it, we're attaching the bills. So it's easily seen to say, okay, here's what their cost was, here's what my cost is.
Have you ever missed a time and material lost? And if so, how do you catch those things?
We are pulling job reports on a pretty constant basis. And with our clients that are T&M, that makes it a little easier for us to go through and pull a report that shows what we invoiced and what our cost should have been. So if everything got filled out, but we forgot to check that market billable, when I look at the project expense, like that, just that project page for those particular clients, I should easily be able to tell what that profit is. So if it says something like you're at 15%, I'm like, oh, okay, I think something maybe got missed. And we're monitoring that pretty frequently, the difference of the project expenses and what we've invoiced for. So that stuff is constantly, and like I said, we're also always reconciling our deposit accounts. So just like that in the job reports, everything gets reconciled at minimum monthly, but sometimes for clients that we have large jobs, we're doing it weekending or every other weekending.
And so
I definitely don't want to be responsible for them to pay a $10,000 bill and not get paid a $12,000 income,
Right. But in with this kind of workflow, especially where you have them billing weekly or biweekly, those types of things are catchable, and it's not like it's well past the point of being able to catch them on the next billing, right?
Honestly, it's a little bit more frequent that we have a subcontractor that sends us a bill for work they did 2 months later or 2 months ago than it is for us to have missed something to be marked billable.
Always an issue when you're dealing with people.
Especially small subcontractor labor, since there's just a lot of them are operating on the side of, oh, my bank's getting a little low, I wonder who I forgot to invoice.
Especially if you're dealing with subcontractors who aren't the Shanna Quinn umbrella of all of that.
I mean, it's a big part of, I think, why I enjoy working with contractors. There's so much information, and you have to be so detailed and specific about it. Obviously, I don't want myself or my girls to be like the ones that are impacting our clients getting paid. So we've put things in place to make sure that those things are constantly being reconciled and are being caught at, like I said, at minimum monthly. But when you're doing these weekly or biweekly ones and the time and material, it definitely makes it a lot easier to catch with the keeping up and the constant. Because that project screen does provide you with that information. You're able to take that labor out. It's in a separate spot, your internal labor, because you've got your billable rates that you've hopefully calculated accurately to know what they cost you versus what you should bill them out at. And then you're able to take that income and that amount of expenses and say, here's what that should be, unless you have absorbed costs, which are few and far between, but you do sometimes. If you've accidentally, I don't know, let's just say you accidentally broke a pipe, and so now you were responsible for the fixing and the cleaning up of that in a project, right? It happens a lot. So that's an expense that we're obviously going to get charged for, or their guys are going to have to go out there and fix it. So it's an expense that occurs against that job, but we're putting it towards the class that says, this is kind of our fault, so we're waiving it.
Right. So any other topics that, as far as the money coming in, that we might have glossed over or missed that you want to talk a little bit more about?
I guess the all other side of it is because we had talked about WIP before, and WIP is it's work in progress, right? So that's for expenses that are on lots or homes that are owned internally. So they're building or working on their own projects. So everything and WIP those are your assets. So I guess when you're even in that case, if you're a home builder or a home builder, that's the best scenario for WIP. And then you've got a deposit that you've received from a prospect that wants to move into that house upon completion. You've got the balance of it sitting, all those expenses sit in WIP because you still own that lot, or your clients still own that lot. So it's just going to continue to build as the house becomes a house. And then once that closing actually occurs, that's when the WIP moves down to COGS, and your asset moves to COGS, and your liability of that deposit then moves over to your earned revenue. I think that was the only thing we kind of missed over.
Kind of glossed over. Yeah, and I guess in terms of a non, contractor, special trades type of situation, this could also be utilized in the same fashion of like a manufacturer that is manufacturing a finished good, the manufacturing process internally until they have a finished good to sell as a finalized project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or in my case, because I've been dreaming about it lately a lot, as my car is reaching like 130,000 miles on it, I'm like, I don't really want to deal with computer issues in cars. And there seems to be a lot of computer issues in cars because there's so much computers in cars now. I've been kind of dreaming of like having like an old Bronco built out. So I think that would be in the same, right? They would sit there, whoever I hire, this is a dream, so it's probably never actually going to happen. But it sits there, whoever owns the vehicle builds it out for me. I probably have to pay them a deposit, sits on that liability, and then everything gets moved over. I just had to throw that in just in case my husband's watching and he wants to know what I want for Christmas.
Okay. But I guess and as far as like a QuickBooks reporting type of situation with regards to work in progress versus project job costing, built reports, or do you create custom reports? Not even worry about the reports inside of QuickBooks when it comes to the job costing slash work in progress reports for those two different types of scenarios.
I mean, so the project summary screen is not going to give you any information until everything sells, because then it moves over from the balance sheet to the P&L. So you can't do it in QuickBooks, unfortunately. What you can do though is create custom reports that you can either auto export into a workbook or export manually into a workbook, and then an easy pivot creation to say, here's based off of per cost code, here's kind of where everything is at. And if you've got cost codes a little bit more detailed and you're using your categories, you could even use the category export to give you a little bit more of a refined layout of what that detailed transaction pivot could look like, the summary. But unfortunately, for all of our clients that do that, we are exporting out of QuickBooks.
Got it. Okay. Because, in desktop, there are WIP reports that are listed there. But up until today, I didn't know the difference between WIP report, job cost reports. I'm like, this doesn't make any difference, or it doesn't seem like it makes any difference in the sample company. So it was super helpful to understand the true difference of the real world scenario and the QuickBooks world.
Yes, and
those reports.
For clients that you have, if you've got clients that are dabbling in both project costing and WIP, you do have to have two separate sets of cost codes. You can't utilize the same set, because when you're setting up your cost codes, you're directing them towards the proper income and the expense account. And obviously income and expense on the line items for a WIP item is not going to be the same as a job costing. You'd have to but you can export, manipulate it, and then import it and just have it directed towards your liability or your asset accounts.
Yeah. And speaking of scope, we are actually creeping into next week's topic, which is all about reporting in job costs. So we'll talk a little bit in detail next week when we talk about reporting for job. So sneak peek, you already got a little of that taste today. Can you begin with what's happening with the bookkeepers for Contractor group?
Oh my gosh, so much. It's just kind of grown into a lot more than I sort of initially had the thought of, but all good things, all really good things, and all great things for everyone wanting to become a member. There's more application sort of partnerships that are occurring, which is great for you because then you get the discount on it. So just a lot. And as of last week, I now am offering a firm level membership, which I wasn't initially going to be offering. So the firm membership is for small, medium firms who obviously don't need the here's how to get started as an independent bookkeeper paperwork or email templates and stuff like that. They are looking for just true help my staff learn how to properly job cost coaching. So I am working with another application who is supporting this for the firms already. We're not ready to I'm not ready to announce who the partnership is yet, but it is really exciting. And there's going to be some great benefits to it. So it just continues to grow. All great things.
Yeah.
All great things though, so I'm very excited. And of course, I'm appreciative. This is the season of being thankful, right? So I don't think I got this out there last week before we pre-recorded. And I also was cutting out a lot. So also I'm thankful that it's Dan this time and not me. That I am thankful because Dan has obviously been a big part of helping me get to this point as well and supporting me and letting me hijack his Wednesdays to talk about job costing, which is super exciting for me, but maybe not so much for Dan. So it's been really awesome, and I'm very thankful for that.
Awesome. It's and you know, I'm not getting nothing out of this either, because this is something that we've been wanting to do at School of Bookkeeping, is having this job costing fundamentals as a course for all of our students, not just all of the ones, not just the ones that are members of the Bookkeeping for Contractor group. So this is a symbiotic relationship. I don't know who's the shark and who's the little fish that's cleaning up the barnacles, but but either way, I'm glad that we're doing this together, because you know, we're all about learning and
Yeah.
continuing to learn, because eventually, when you stop learning, then things just seem to pass you by. So um, this is a great exercise and experience, and so we will look forward to seeing you all next week, where we'll talk about reports in job costing. And until then, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Happy Wednesday.